Hello, my name is Anani Francine13, and the name of my channel is The Oil of Amana. So I created this channel in order to explore topics around health and spirituality. Welcome. So before I just jump right into the topic, I do want to make my same disclaimers that I've made at the top of every other video I've made so far. And those disclaimers are the following. Number one, I am not tech savvy. So this lighting and this sound is what it is for now. And number two, I did jot down some notes that I'll be reading from time to time just to stay on track. Okay, so with that being said, I will jump right into the topic, and that topic is fire and water and the traditional application of elemental healing. I know that was a mouthful, and I'm going to go in some different directions, but I want to start by just putting on record and taking note that we are currently witnessing an interesting phenomenon on the planet as it relates to an awakening around health. People more and more are starting to recognize that what they consume, the food they consume, not only comes from nature, but connects them to nature and connects them to forces larger than themselves. Right? So that's one paradigm taking place in terms of health. But there's another paradigm in which this awakening, which has the potential to connect us to nature and to the divine in a deep, profound way, is interrupted by forces that look to seem natural, that want to seem natural, right? But in fact, are not. So there's this paradigm in which, here's what I mean. People are encouraged to believe that spiritual awakening, spiritual ascension, spiritual mastery is aligned with plant-based diets, plant-based living, right? So there's this idea that being plant-based makes one more ethical, makes one more spiritual, makes one more enlightened, because the positioning and the messaging centers on the idea that the plant-based paradigm is here to save the planet from climate change, animal cruelty. And so people who often adopt this lifestyle, while well-meaning, end up succumbing to an ego-based loop in which they believe that they are more spiritual because they don't consume animals or use animal products. So we're all familiar with Meatless Mondays and Veganuary or Veganuary, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, in which the first month of the year, in the Gregorian calendar anyway, is set aside to be plant-based and, lessen your carbon footprint, allegedly improve your health. And again, the undertone of that supports this idea that one is ethical, one is enlightened, one is moral. Then, of course, we're all familiar with documentaries like Cowspiracy, Seaspiracy, Forks Over Knives, Earthlings. All of these documentaries that educate people, the public, on how to be conscientious about what they eat. Okay. I want to extend that. So when I'm talking about public health messaging, I mean a myriad of forces. I'm not only talking about governmental bodies like the USDA, I'm also including, trade organizations like the Academy of, what is it called? The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. I'm including them. I'm also including your online, plant-based shaman, plant-based healer, plant-based, social media influencer as a part of public health messaging as well. So when we begin to look at these forces as it relates to social media influencers in particular, and personalities that ascend in the media overall, we see a bastardization of ancestral practices like elemental healing. So we also see a perversion of concepts like the doctrine of signatures. And the doctrine of signatures is the understanding that when you're looking at a plant, you're looking at its shape, you're looking at its color, you're looking at where it grows, when it grows, and understanding that that association or those aspects of the plant correspond with organ systems of the human body. When we're talking about elemental healing, we're talking about the cross-cultural, worldwide understanding that indigenous cultures had, that the elements show up everywhere. So the fire element exists in the substances that we eat. The water element exists there in the substances that we consume and that heal the body, the air, the earth. They understood this. The bastardization of that looks like this. A common thing that I see as it relates to the doctrine of signatures, which is used cross-culturally by herbalists, we see this written down, at a certain period, normally by European cultures, it's written down. But indigenous cultures understood this, even though many of them are coming from more oral traditions in which things are passed down through language, through families, etc. So with that being said, a bastardization of this, an example of that would be a meme that pops up from your plant-based shaman and healer who says, if you look at the walnut, because the walnut looks like the human brain, it heals the human brain, and this is where you can get all of your omegas. As it relates to elemental healing, you'll see things like, if you just, eat the color red, like cherries, like strawberries, like beets, then you're healing the fire element and the root chakra of the body. This is a bastardization. Because the indigenous cultures, the world entire, and I'm going to keep saying that because it's cross-cultural, understood and revered animal foods as well. These healers, these indigenous shamans, these witch doctors respected and revered the totality of nature, and so they healed with the whole of nature, which would include animal foods, and animal foods being the foundation. So as an example, if we look at the indigenous plains people of North America, the Native Americans, we find many of these plains cultures who are eating buffalo prize the liver, prize the heart. If we were to look at the, Africa, South Africa, the Xhosa, who prize the offal of the animal, the organs of the animal. And as it relates to healing, a paradigm of healing, we probably are all familiar now with the concept of like heals like. We see that in cultures, indigenous healing ways around the world, in which if you want to heal the brain, you eat the brains of an animal. You want to heal the liver, you eat the liver of an animal. You want to heal the heart, you eat the heart of an animal. You want to heal the eyes, you eat the eyes. etc., etc. That, as it relates to the doctrine of signatures in an animal-based perspective that these cultures recognize, again, because they respect and revere the totality of nature, that will be an application of the doctrine of signatures as well. Along those lines, we see an understanding that our bodies also hold a doctrine of signatures in what they do, what our organ systems do. The adrenal cortex being made of fat, you have to eat fat. You have to eat fat. The bile acid, that is a fire secretion. Hydrochloric acid, right? You have to eat meat. It's there because we are designed to eat these foods, these animal foods. And they are, in fact, the foundation of healing. So many people, who call themselves online shaman are in service to an agenda that promotes these documentaries to the public, that promotes bandwagon agendas like Meatless Mondays and Veganuary, however you say it. Your social media influencers, plant-based influencers, are in service to that, which disconnects us from the ancestral practice of elemental healing, and by extension disconnects us from the totality of nature via a paradigm of malnourishment. Okay, so if we look at the fire element, indigenous cultures, again, the world entire, we're looking at red meat. Not just the meat, the blood. We have whole cultures that mix blood and milk and drink it. That exists. Are they less spiritual? Less ascended? Because that too is the practical application of elemental healing. That is the fire element, the root chakra, the foundational principle of health as relates to fire is related to eating the animal foods. It is not just consuming cayenne pepper and beets and strawberries and cherries to treat your root chakra and your fire element. No. When we look at the principle of water, it wasn't just, a 21-day detox challenge or whatever to get up and drink water and get up and just consume liquids. No, it was the saturated fat. It was the saturated fat who understood before we even started to use the word lipid that it is the fat that hydrates us. Truly and deeply, not just exogenous water. That's the water element. It goes deeper and it goes further. But the point of this video is just to encourage everyone to scrutinize this messaging that we see. Normally it's going to come to us, online via an influencer who may or may not be well-meaning, but whether or not they are well-meaning doesn't matter. When we see these people claiming to understand concepts like the doctrine of signatures, concepts like elemental healing, and omitting the fact that the indigenous cultures who gave us these healing paradigms respected the totality of nature and based their diets, their nutrition on animal foods. That needs to be scrutinized, questioned, and called out. We all have an opportunity, if we are so inclined, to lend our voice to public health messaging. We all have that opportunity. And it is up to the public to get a firm understanding of how the body works in order to be able to filter this information that they're seeing. With that being said, I'm going to end. I know I rambled at the end. My name is Anani Francine 13. I hope your vision is clear and I hope your health is blessed.